Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, and today we continue with the series that I started a few days ago, Hidden Gems. Now, before I start with the game, I would like to once again to remind you, if you like my videos, please like the video, hit notification button, subscribe to my channel, and I would encourage you also to leave the comments. I try to respond to every comment, so that would be some opinion about the game or maybe some new suggestion. I would really appreciate this. It would help me tremendously with the YouTube algorithms, as you know, this is the way it works. Okay, let's move on with the game, and today I would like to show you a very impressive positional game played between Boris Gelfand, which doesn't need any introduction, I guess, and Hungarian Grandmaster Ferenc Berkes. If you are not familiar with this name, I mean, it's a very strong Hungarian Grandmaster who has been playing for the national team for many years. Actually crossed 2706 in 2011. Now he's 2615, I think, like during this game. The game was played, by the way, in 2023 during World Cup in Baku, Azerbaijan. And that was first game, and Black won in this game. Well, you know, Hungarian Grandmaster won the match 1.5 to half, and so it was a crucial win. Now, this game really impressed me a lot. The whole concept with the pawn sacrifice was, in my opinion, very, very impressive. Again, I don't know whether this game was mentioned somewhere in any chess articles or YouTube channels, but to be honest, I didn't see anything. But it's quite possible I missed something. There are so much information nowadays. Let's move to this game, which started with the move d4, as Boris Gelfand always starts. d4, knight f6, c4, a6, knight f3, bishop b4 check, so-called Bogo Indian defense. So there is bishop d2, and knight d2 obviously moves, and knight d2 has been always Boris Gelfand pet move. Now, usually black responds with either castle or b6, but now there is a new approach, lately quite fashionable. Black just responds with d5. Actually, why not? But there is one line which considered to be somewhat favorable for white. So it starts with queen a4 check, inducing knight c6, because you need to protect the bishop. Knight c6 and e3. So usually in this position, black played castle, and then after a3, bishop e7, queen c2, white had quite, like, you know, enjoyable position. Knight on c6 is somewhat misplaced, a little bit resembles some Rogozin positions, but in Rogozin you have bishop on d6, so you try to carry out e5 break, so that's a better version here for white. Now, instead of playing castle a5, this is the latest trend in this position. Played by some strong, like really strong players here. I can mention the name of Shahryar Mamediyarov here. So it's really interesting line with very unusual play, I would say. Now, a3, bishop e7. So no intention to give up dark square bishop. So that's why Hungarian Grandmaster prefers bishop e7. Now, queen c2. So here I would say I would probably prefer move before, so it seems to me a little bit more challenging. I analyzed this a little bit. It's very, very complicated, but in my taste, white fights for advantage here in this position. So for those who are interested in the theory of this line, I would say that please pay attention to the move before. It's in my opinion the most challenging approach. But queen c2 is very logical, just following the plan. And now a very surprising approach, a4. So this is not the first time that this idea has been played. It's before it was played by Ukrainian Grandmaster Kuzubov. He has 2 games in this variation, and the point, so of course, positionally it's very favorable to get the pawn on a4 to fix the pawn structure on the queen side, stop b3 move. However, the problem is just that after cd5, ed5, bishop b5, white is winning this pawn, so there is no way to protect on a4, and it's a problem. Nevertheless, black just continues castle. Now Boris captured on a4, it's very logical. Now, why not c6? bc6, queen c6. So what happens here? Now, once again, I would encourage you guys to pause the video. Can you find a very strong idea here in this position for black? I don't think it's very difficult. We just continue bishop a6, preventing castle. So now king is really a liability for white in this position. Now after queen a4, so it's 2 pawns up, but after c5, black develops really very powerful initiative. This position is already better for black, very, very dangerous. Not so clear what to do with this king on a1. So Boris, of course, captured on a4, and probably he was familiar with this line. Now here in this position, black just continued with the move bishop d6. So that's, I think it's a novelty in this game. Before the game of between two Ukrainian Grandmasters, Korobov and Kuzubov, featured move bishop d7 in this position. Probably, I guess there is a threat knight d4, so followed by bishop a4. And eventually, actually, black did pretty okay in this game, but I have a feeling that after bishop b3, white might be better in this position. So maybe this is something that Boris had in mind, like how to improve on white's play here. But instead of bishop d7, black just played bishop d6, just like normal, improving pieces. So once again, sacrificing another pawn, second pawn, which was rejected, castle. It's understandably, because after bishop c6, bc6, queen c6, it's even stronger. Bishop a6 exists here, but bishop d7, queen c2, bishop b5 even stronger. And the same story, king is stuck on a1, and it doesn't matter that it's 2 pawns up for white. Black has a wonderful compensation. Castle. And it's remarkable how black is just playing here just regular positional moves without even paying attention to being pawn down and second pawn. So just rook a8, just a very nice positional move. Rook controls e file. Meanwhile, bishop c6 is possible now, which was rejected because this time after bishop c6, bc6, queen c6, black has another idea. Now this time already bishop a6 wouldn't be so effective because, well, black has castle already. So can you pause the video, please, and try to find the idea what Hungarian Grandmaster, which I'm pretty sure analyzed this position, had in mind here, how to continue after sacrificing second pawn. If you found the idea rook a6, queen c2 and knight a4 with very rich play on the king side, so there is a potential for very dangerous attack. So next move bishop a5, bishop g4, rook will be transferred to either g6, h6. So there is a lot of potential here for black to develop something very, very interesting on the king side. So it's really remarkable idea. Now the whole point I would like to emphasize, the whole point here of the compensation is bishop on c1. So just one bad piece, and that's why black has really interesting compensation for the pawn, and in my opinion sufficient compensation. So b4 was played. So obviously Boris tries to solve the problem of this bishop, wants to develop to b2. So here very interesting idea played by Ferenc. Again, I would encourage you to pause the video. Can you see something special here for black in this position from the positional point of view? Now, the idea here that has been played in the game after b4 is knight takes b4. So tactics, obviously it's not even winning material, it's rather exchange. After a4, the idea b5, and obviously black gets the material back because rook on a1 is hanging. And what happens after this? That black gets finally something clear for sacrifice pawn. Now it will be bishop pair. So now one line, bishop b2 was possible in this position, then probably ba4, rook a4, and just bishop a5 is very nice tempo, also taking advantage of the fact that after, let's say, rook a8, bishop c2, rook d8, rook d8, now black has very nice compensation. Pawn on b4 is hanging, and then rook a8 is coming, so that's really enough to hold this position easily. Now, instead, Boris captured on b5, rook a1, seemingly like very logical knight b3. I think it's a good move. Knight b3, attacking the rook moves, bishop e8, and queen e8. So at least we can say there is something materialistic for black. Now there is a bishop pair, and it's pretty good bishop pair. But white position looks very solid, and it's very impressive how Hungarian Grandmaster like plays this game. I mean, it's definitely he analyzed this position and he developed a very good feeling here how to continue, what is allowed, when he needs to strike, and so on. So after queen a8, white continued with the natural move knight c5, queen b5. Very nice move. Now there is a logical question, why not to play bishop g4? Seems very natural, threatening potentially some bishop f3 and king will be exposed. But I think what Boris prepared here is to sacrifice the pawn back, bishop e5, d5, queen e5, but then finally bishop gets into the play, and I think dark square bishop actually really strong. White is better, it's maybe not so much, but well, at least what is for sure, white is out of danger here in this position. So and finally pieces are very active. So instead of playing this move, Boris went queen b5, comes with the tempo, the pawn is hanging on b4, so bishop d2 seems logical, and g6. So this is what's remarkable. So there is no aggressive play, something very concrete, we need to get the pawn. He just continues slowly to improve his position. So bishop f5 coming, so activating light square bishop. Now bishop c3 was played in this position. I also checked the variation, well, what would happen if knight e5, pretty logical. Then we just play bishop f5, queen b3, queen e2 is very nice, comes with the tempo. And let's say after queen d1, endgame always very okay for black, to be honest, because it's bishop pair and black controls the only open file on the board. So rook a2, this is full compensation, and I believe it should end like in some kind of like draw here. So instead of knight e5 in the game, Boris played bishop c3, very natural. I think like almost everyone would play this move. Bishop f5 tempo, queen b2, and knight e4. So black just continue simple chess, like playing the moves like it would be played with the equal material, just normal play, nothing is happening, but just maintaining very nice positional compensation. Very impressive concept. Now, obviously, knight e4 trade is possible, but then we eliminate the knight from c5. So, and once again, I would like to emphasize, so there is still a problem with dark square bishop. So it hasn't been solved. There is no open diagonal for this bishop. It still looks like a tall pawn to me. So rook a1. So that's knight a4. Actually, I want to say knight e4, bishop e4, just you know, maintaining good compensation. Rook a1 was played in the game. So very logical, because it seems like everywhere the idea rook a2. So let's trade the rooks. Rook a1, queen a1. And now very important move for black. Would ask you to pause the video and think about this position, how to continue. So now there is a great opportunity, since white queen is away from b2 square, queen e2, to activate the queen, and it's pretty annoying. So first of all, it comes up with the tempo, f2 is hanging, so basically bishop e1 probably has to be played. There are some issues also on the first rank if white is careless. And now it seems like white is very solid. Maybe there is a question how to convert, but white is very solid. Well, it might be not the case. So h5, just to continue a little bit expanding on the king side. So the idea might be h4 if it's allowed, maybe tactically, or just simply maybe g5, and then we'll see g4 or h4. Now queen c1 was played, and very nice waiting move, king g7. Like really enjoyable to watch how black is slowly improving the position. White is kind of like doesn't have any activity here, so that's the problem. And now, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that this position was much easier to handle off the board for black, and here, unfortunately for Boris, he committed a decisive mistake. Now, queen a1 seems like would keep some kind of like balanced position. Still complicated one, but objectively balanced. it's very understandable that Boris still believes that, well, it's extra pawn, he is obliged to play for a win. Now, it's also, of course, like when you play these short matches, 2 games, you have to put some pressure with white. Unfortunately, this move appeared to be a decisive mistake, and here black strikes with wonderful, wonderful idea, which helped him to develop a decisive attack. Please pause the video and think what might happen here. What might happen and how black should play here in order to win this game. There is an amazing move, knight g5. Knight g5, so the idea to keep the pieces, and now it appears that king on g1 really under attack, so we have basically 4 pieces, queen e2, 2 bishops and knight in the attack, plus pawn h4, h3, and white doesn't have too many defenders. It's just mathematically problematic. You know, I recently always teach my students this concept. We will have 2 extra pieces in the attack. It's usually winning. So here it's a little bit more because we can, well, I don't know, bishop e1, maybe some kind of defender, knight on d2 controls some squares. Let's say 4 against 2, and that's barely defenders. Now, so what is happening here? So there are some threats. Now, e4. So trying to open up something, maybe, you know, some tactics with queen c1, attacking the bishop, although, of course, like it's tied to e1. So what is the easiest way to decide the game here for white? Can you show some calculation here? Please pause the video as usually. And if you can solve this position, let me please suggest the move here. Now, there are actually 2 wins. It's either piece on h3 is winning, but I think it's just like much more practical to start with the check. So a computer shows that bishop h3 is also crushing. Like, well, seems to me like it's a little bit computerish solution. With the point, after gh3, there is knight h3, and then knight f4 and queen g4. It's actually pretty simple after this. And it goes without saying that after bishop h3, probably the threat is to go queen g4 and further weakening light squares, which will be decisive, obviously. Now, after knight h3, gh3, bishop h3, it appears that there is basically no defense against queen g4. So it's a similar idea. Here, queen g4, and obviously f3 runs into this mate, or queen h2. Now, king h1 was played, and Ferenc just captured d4. After gh3, e3 was played, taking advantage of the fact that fe3 loses to bishop h3. Again, we just have no defenders. Like that's really remarkable here. Now, instead, Boris tried king g1, but after bishop h3, he resigned because basically it's hard to stop queen g4 mate. So, and yeah, the game was decided here. White resigned in this position, and it was a brilliant win. Only 30 moves with black against such an experienced player as Boris Gelfand. Truly impressive game, in my opinion. I think there were some beautiful sacrifices, although like knight g5, knight h3, but it was too easy. But the whole concept and strategy played in this game by Hungarian Grandmaster was truly impressive. I obviously was following this live. Boris Gelfand, a good friend of mine, and it was, well, it was unfortunate to see him losing so badly, but the credit goes to Hungarian, to Ferenc. I mean, tremendous game that deserves a lot of credit, and hopefully after this video it will be more famous. Guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this game, and I'll see you on my next videos.